Hi everyone, welcome to the Mindful Place Summit. Today I am very excited to introduce you to Debra Burdick. She's known as the Brain Lady, and she's an international expert on mindfulness and ADHD. She's an award-winning #1 best-selling author, licensed clinical social worker, board-certified neurofeedback practitioner, and an online expert at selfgrowth.com. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us here today, Debra.
Hi, Crystal. I'm delighted to be here. Anytime I get to talk about mindfulness for kids, it's so much fun.
Thank you. So we're going to jump right into some questions. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in mindfulness?
Well, I became ill way back in the early 1980s, and I ended up with a chronic illness that lasted like 15 years, thankfully healed now, but the doctors weren't helping, and I just thought that maybe there was something I could do from inside. I'd heard about meditation. I didn't know anything about it. Went and got all the books the library had and started learning about it, listening to cassette tapes. This was a long time ago. Guided imagery, progressive relaxations. I discovered in 10, 15 minutes, I could actually turn down my pain for the first time. So I started studying this. I studied with Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is credited with being the grandfather of modern mindfulness and bringing it from the Eastern traditions into the more mainstream medical community here in the United States, and others. And then I started teaching mindfulness skills to my clients of all ages, 3-year-olds, 90-year-olds, didn't matter. We could help them learn to control their stress, to control their anxiety, feel better. I went on to teach mindfulness nationally to other mental health practitioners and educators, and wrote 5 books and a card deck. I'll tell you a little bit about them in a second. In fact, most of the skills that we're going to talk about today are in my book and my card deck. So then I have been amazed at how powerful mindfulness is and how much kids love it.
Absolutely. So what will you be sharing with us today?
Well, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about what mindfulness is and what benefits can get from practicing it and what research shows. And then mostly we'll do some skills that our listeners can do for themselves and for any of the kids in their lives.
That's great. Why should we teach children mindfulness skills, and what are the benefits of that?
Well, when I started teaching this, I really discovered that there's quite a body of research for all ages, but also for kids. I didn't know there's not as much for kids, but it's compelling when you look at some of the benefits for kids. And anybody listening to this, think about the kids in your life. If they're kids, grandkids, students, clients, patients, whatever they are. I'm going to just read the list here and not go into them too much, but just think about if any of these kids in your life need these things. So mindfulness research has determined that mindfulness can increase emotional regulation, and that's kind of what we're talking about here today in this talk, is self-regulation for kids. Increase social skills, increase the ability to orient your attention, increase working memory and planning and organizing, which all kids need. Certainly kids with ADHD need that. Decrease ADHD behavior such as the hyperactivity and impulsivity. Increase your self-esteem. That's so helpful for kids. Increase a sense of calmness and relaxation and a sense of self-acceptance. If only we'd all learn self-acceptance when we were kids. Increase the quality of sleep. Decrease anxiety and depression and our stress response. And help with affect regulation and emotional regulation, and even decrease conduct and rage and behavior management kinds of things. So think about if there's anybody in your life that could use help with any of those. I bet you know somebody.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. So what is mindfulness and what is the basic process?
Well, the mindfulness, I like to use Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition, and it is paying attention to something in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So think about, just look around the room that you're sitting in, and maybe just look at the front wall in front of you. Notice what's there. Notice the outside edges of the wall. Notice the color of the wall. Notice if there's any plants or pictures or furniture or windows or anything that's there. Then maybe notice the temperature in the room, and notice if there's any fragrance or odor. And I'll be quiet for a moment and just tune in and see if there's any sound. Okay, very briefly, I've just helped you define mindfulness. We paid attention to something. We set our intention to pay attention to the wall in front of us. We did it in a particular way. We looked at it, we smelled, we felt it, the temperature, we listened. We did it on purpose because we decided to do it. We did it right now in the present moment. And hopefully we did it non-judgmentally. Hopefully we weren't saying, oh yeah, we need to change the color of that curtain or whatever. I mean, there's another time and place for that. But in mindfulness, we want to just notice and accept what's there. And then we really talk about mindfulness being, it involves paying attention. So setting your intention to pay attention to something. Now, what you want to pay attention to? That can be lots of things. The age-old focus of attention is our breath. We'll talk a little bit about a breathing exercise later on. An object, anything you have, you can notice everything there is to notice about that. You can pay attention to your physical body. You can pay attention to your thoughts, what's going on in there, the emotions, your feelings. You can notice the temperature. You can pay attention by listening, by smelling. So lots of different ways to do it. So the basic process is to set your intention to what you're going to pay attention to. Then, as soon as you notice that you're not paying attention to it, because you'll get distracted. That's, 60,000 thoughts a day, you're going to get distracted. That's normal. That's okay. As soon as you notice that you've been distracted, bring your attention back to what you intended to pay attention to. So I came up with an acronym, I-SOLAR. I, set your intention. I, stop when you notice that you are off task. Observe, then let it go and return. I-SOLAR, set your intention, stop, observe, let it go, and return. So it's kind of a quick, easy way to kind of remember the process.
I absolutely love that. And the way that you describe it, it's just allows for simplicity, right? A lot of the times when we hear the word mindfulness, it's like, oh, it's that one extra thing, or how do we implement that in our day? And it's just the act of that awareness piece and having the intention. It's beautifully said. So thank you. That's I resonate with that very.
What I have discovered in my own life after, I've been doing this for 30 some years, close to 40, is that I'm more mindful all the time. Sometimes, stop it, I don't want to be so mindful, but I am always in the present. I'm looking, I'm enjoying, I'm noticing things that I never ever would have noticed before, because I've set my intention to do that and it really makes my life more fulfilling and more rewarding. One of the other ways that I describe mindfulness is, one of my 7-year-old clients taught me this. She says, Miss Deb, make a glitter bottle, because I had a snow globe and I was doing all kinds of fancy things to put baking soda in water and have it settled, but I don't have the glitter in here right now, but kids love these little tiny bottles. You can put glitter in there. There's actually a recipe for how to do that in one of my ADHD non-medication treatments and skills books, so that when you shake it like this, have the kids do that and they can see it's all cloudy and it's full of glitter. And as they relax and breathe out calmly, all of that glitter settles to the bottom. And that's what mindfulness is. It's clearing out all that other stuff in your mind. The thoughts don't go away. They're still there. You need them, but they're not in the way. Absolutely. And those kinds of things, first off, I've done this with little kids. They want their glitter bottle. They want to make sure they take it home, but Gorilla Glue the cap, because you don't want them drinking it.
Or shaking it and it going everywhere. And what are some things to consider when teaching mindfulness to kids other than the Gorilla Glue?
Gorilla Glue. Well, you're thinking about their developmental level, not just their age, that's important, but where are they developmentally? I could spend a whole session talking about this. I'm just going to give you the names of the different things here on this one, but their cognitive level, how are they doing cognitively? What can they understand? Their attentional capabilities, how long can they pay attention? Their language, it's really important to make sure that we use language that the kids understand. My famous one is inhale and exhale. What 3-year-old knows what inhale and exhale knows? They know now, and I've been around them, but they don't know to begin with. So we'll teach them how to inhale and exhale, what that word means. We need to make it relevant to them, and we need to make sure, sort of take an assessment of what their emotional regulation is too, because some of these skills can bring up some emotions that we need to be prepared for.
Absolutely. How can we tailor mindful practices for kids versus adults?
Well, they're not really dramatically different from how we teach mindfulness for adults, but there are some important differences. One that comes to my mind first is I like to involve the parents. If at all possible, I want to involve the parents. I want them to learn these skills too. And I want them to be doing these skills with their kids, because the kids are gonna see that. The parents are modeling it for them, and they're gonna learn from their parents. I had an example though of a little boy who was 8, and he was on the autistic spectrum, and he had an issue where he would become very angry if he didn't turn his test in as soon as somebody else or whatever. He would tip over the desks and throw things. I mean, he became violent. And so I asked him if anybody had ever taught him how to breathe to calm down his anger. And he said, "Oh yes, Miss Deb, yes." I said, "Does it work?" He goes, "Oh no." And I said, "Can you show me how you do it?" And he goes, and of course, that's opposite of what we need to do to calm down the anger. So I just said to him, "Well, that's nice. Is it okay with you if I teach you another way to breathe?" And he said, "Okay." So I taught him I call it the relaxation breath, where you breathe in through your nose to the count of 4, and breathe out through your mouth at count of 8, like you're blowing a huge bubble. So we did that. His mother, thankfully, was in the room the day that I taught that to him. And so she was able to reinforce it during the week. It took him a little while to unlearn that, because that's what he'd programmed in there, but he did. And it was kind of rewarding to talk to his teacher and discover he was teaching it to his classmates when they were getting angry. So, so parents is one thing. We need to think about how children's thinking is more concrete. So we need activities to be clear and concrete and descriptive and in their instructions. We want to really teach them how to do this. And the great thing about kids is they have great imaginations. And mindfulness is often about using your imagination and your creativity. So that's awesome. So we want to start with a shorter duration than we might with an adult, although I've had some adults that can't focus for more than 3 seconds either. But even if it's 3 seconds, that's 3 seconds. Okay, maybe we can build to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe a minute. Keep it simple and do, like you said before, and repeat it until it just becomes a habit. Make it fun. Kids love to play, and let's move and let's get some motion going. I'm not asking a child to start by sitting still for a long period of time. In the end, they may be able to do that, but we're going to play and have fun first. So I use a gradual process where I start with the external world. And like we did a mindfulness of surroundings already at the beginning of this, and then gradually move towards their breath, their thoughts, their emotions, their body, and so forth. And that tends to be easier for kids to start to learn that.
I really like how you said the consistency, because it starts to become part of their everyday, where it's just these tools that they've developed at that foundational level. And when you start to see it happening, or they start to use different techniques or breath or sound to regulate themselves, and you can see that, it's like, yay, it's working, and it's exciting to see that. And as an educator or caregiver, take that breath too, right? Join
absolutely. Many times we need to do that. Do take care of us first.
So what is the first mindfulness skill that you would teach a child, and why?
Well, along with what I just said with starting more with the external environment, one of the skills I love is this mindful bell. Now, I got these bells on Amazon.com. They weren't expensive. There are different styles and so forth, but we can use them for a variety of things. We can start and stop meditations. We can just get kids' attention if it's a group or a classroom. Kids can, we can give them permission to use them if the room is getting overwhelming for them and they want kids to slow down. But we can use it as a mindfulness exercise, and just to ask kids to raise their hand, listen to the bells. So we set their intention that they're going to listen, and they're going to raise their hand when they can't hear it anymore. So let's do it. We'll ring it and raise your hand when you can't hear it anymore. Okay, so just in that, what was it, maybe 5 seconds? I don't even know how long it was. We've helped kids tune their attention to something in particular, right? We did the mindfulness, all the things in that definition. I did this with a group of 5 to 8-year-old kids, and it was a 5-day program. So the first day I taught them that, just like we did. The next day I came in, I rang the bell, boop, 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 all the little hands popped up. It was just awesome. They learned it instantly, and they thought it was fun.
I love that. And it's not something you need to do that's new. You can replace. Maybe it's 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me, that the educator or parent or some, whatever it is, or a whistle or a hey, and now you replace it with that mindful practice. You're stacking your habits of what you were doing before, and it's not this whole new thing you have to integrate. It's just gradually doing a few things. I love that bell. Being mindful of our breath is important, as we've been talking about. How can we teach kids to notice their breath and play with inhaling and exhaling?
So I already mentioned that, I like to teach kids breathing techniques. It's very, very calming. And many of them, especially little kids, really don't have the awareness of breathing in and breathing out. So we need to play with that and get their awareness developed a little bit. So one thing is to just play and say, do this with me, breathe in and out. Can you do it really loud? Can you do it really slow? Can you hold your breath? I mean, just play and have fun with it. The kids love to do that. I asked one group of kids, how many of you know how to breathe? And they all raised their hand. And I said, how do you know? And they're very indignant with me. Like, I just know. One little guy said, God taught me. I'm like, oh, I think he's got it. But we can have them smell the flowers. I'm going to show you a couple of my cards here, mindfulness skills for kids. This is a little card that just says, stop and smell the flowers. Can you see that? Can you read it? Yeah. So you can stop and smell lots of different things. You can pretend to smell them. Imagine you're smelling oranges. Imagine you're smelling cotton candy. Put things in a bag that have fragrance and have the kids smell it without looking and see if they can figure out what it is. But we're trying to teach them to inhale through their nose. You usually smell with your nose. Then we want to teach them to exhale, and the perfect way to do that is have them blow bubbles, right? Real bubbles. Pretend to blow bubbles, but let's really blow the bubble and ask them to make the hugest bubble they can. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. If they went, it popped instantly back. Okay, so they learn to make a bigger, longer exhale. They could blow up a balloon. They could blow on a Kleenex. It's so simple. Everybody's got a Kleenex, and make it dance. Just, okay, that's fast. What if we did it really slow? Can we make it float? How long can we make it float? So something else that a child can play with right then and there. Another great one is, I call it rockabye belly, is to just put a teddy bear or a stuffed animal or some little thing on their belly and ask them to give it a ride up and down with their belly. So we're teaching belly breathing, which is important for mindfulness. You get a much deeper breath, and have them inhale bring the teddy bear up, and exhale and bring it down, and just have them practice doing that.
Beautiful.
So lots of different ways we can teach the kids these
Let's
things.
talk about our bodies and moving our bodies, right? Kids like to move. So can we teach kids to move mindfully and have fun while they're doing it?
Yes, and we need to, because what do kids like to do most is move, right? And when I first started teaching these skills, when I started all of this, I was like, my practice was sitting still and whatever, but then I realized I could walk mindfully, and I could teach people to walk mindfully, and that I needed to do that. So I wrote meditations for walking mindfully, and actually, noticing every step you take, and noticing how the pressure is on your foot and what it feels like coming up your leg and up to your shoulders and your head and your arms and so forth. But with kids, let's play. We're gonna walk real fast. We're gonna go so slow. We're gonna pretend to be a robot, and we're just starting to teach that self-regulation through being mindful of walking. And then maybe you ask them, maybe you're in a classroom, to walk mindfully every time they line up, or they go to the bathroom, or whatever it is, just sort of incorporate it into their day. Another one is Simon Says, the old game, right? It's a mindfulness game, because the kids have to be mindful of watching. They have to be mindful of listening. They have to be mindful of their body to only respond when the Simon says, not when they just tell you to move. We can do mindfulness of riding the sounds. Just make motions that go with the sounds that you're hearing in music, or dance, so you think you can dance, kind of thing. Like whatever we can think of to incorporate mindfulness, and tuning the kids into the present moment and what they're doing at that moment is very, very helpful.
I absolutely love that. Now, we're going through a pandemic, as we know, and how can we support children with the anxiousness that they're moving through with this new world we're in right now?
Yeah, it's really important for kids right now. A lot of the kids have anxiety. It doesn't always get expressed as anxiety. I think sometimes the kids are acting out. They're scared, and reasonably so. So one of the skills that I love, it's one of my favorites, is mindfulness it's a mindfulness of thoughts skill, but it's called changing the channel. And I'm going to tell you how a 7-year-old client used it, so that you'll get an idea of it, and hopefully it will help you understand it. The 7-year-old girl was referred to me because she was so anxious. She had generalized anxiety, worried all the time. It was to the point where she really was not able to thrive in the classroom. They were getting ready to remove her and put her in a special setting. The kids in the class had picked up on her worry, and they were teasing her and picking on her and so forth. So she comes in. I taught her the relaxation breath first. But then I said to her, I said, sounds like you're watching your worry channel all the time. She said, oh yeah, Ms. Deb, I watch it all the time. Awareness, all right? She had the awareness that she was worried. All right, you have to have the awareness to change anything. You have to be aware of it first. So then I said to her, well, if you could, what channel would you watch instead of your worry channel? She said, I would love to watch my happy channel. I said, okay, well, what would you put on your happy channel? And she thought a minute, and then she said, well, I love to dance. I would put dance on my happy channel. And I said, okay, here you go. This week, anytime that you notice that you're watching your worry channel, I want you to reach in your pocket and pull out your imaginary remote control and change the channel to your happy channel and watch dance. And I get choked up every time I tell this story, because in 2 weeks, her anxiety was gone. It was gone. She rewired her brain. She had been reinforcing the neuronal pathway of worry over and over. And what we do over and over again, we get really good at it. And now she had another option. And so she was able to change the channel to something else in her mind. And it was very powerful. So for kids who are worrying about the pandemic, this is one skill. It's not everything that we can teach them, but it's one way to help them stop focusing on it so much, help them to find something that feels better. We can use the same skill for somebody that has depression. You know, all their thoughts are negative. They're watching their negative Nancy channel, right? How about watching their happy channel? Or maybe they're stressed out all the time. How about putting something on their their calm channel? What would they put? Maybe a waterfall, or maybe a picture of their grandchild's face, whatever it is that makes them feel calmer. So it's a very useful skill. I really find it, you know, I say it's one of my favorites for good reason.
Well, I absolutely love that. And the visualization of it, right? And being able to, you know, who doesn't like to click a remote, right? So they
I
can
mean, kids get that, right? They understand changing the channel.
what's another skill that kids can use to help them self-regulate and focus?
I've got a couple more. One is mindfulness of touch. I went to Michael's here in the United States and bought these little cute little bags, and I filled them with little goodies, things that the skill is to reach inside, close your eyes, and just see if you can figure out what the objects are by touching them. So you know, setting your intention to pay attention to what's in the bag and what it feels like and try to guess what it is. So let me just give you what's in this little bag. Would be most any little thing. Of course, be mindful of whether the child is old enough not to give them something they'll put in their mouth, but I've got a star, I've got a clothespin, I've got a key, I've got a coin, I've got different textures and shapes, and just some, you know, I have numbers of different kinds of things in
You're
there.
making me want to play with that bag.
It's fun. Who wouldn't want to play with this little bag, right? So
it's in there. Oh, I love it.
And then to, you know, maybe have several different sets. So different bags have different things. So then they can trade and you know, make a game out of it. The other one is mindfulness of taste. And John Kabat-Zinn he has a famous raisin meditation where he takes a raisin and he directs you in a guided meditation to focus on this raisin for 20 minutes. All right, we're not going to get the kids to focus on it for 20 minutes. But it is kind of a mindfulness of eating meditation. We could do it with their little snack, anything that they have. But the process is to pay attention to it, to look at it, to notice whether it has any patterns, any writing on it, what color it is, if it's hard or soft, or it has ridges, or bring it up and take a smell of it. Notice what it tastes, you know, taste it with your tongue, put it in your mouth and let it sit there for a moment and see how it changes. What does it taste like? What is your mouth doing with it? Take a little bite and swallow it. What does it taste like? I tend to do it with M&Ms with kids. First off, they love M&Ms. Who doesn't love chocolate? But when you put the M&M in your mouth, it has a candy coating that is smooth at first, but as it dissolves, it becomes a coating. The candy underneath is rough, has a rougher texture, so it actually changes. So it's kind of fun for kids to do that. But I've done it with kids at their snack time. We've done it with grapes. We've done it with popcorn. Doesn't matter what it is so much, just to be mindful of what it is that you are eating.
I absolutely love that. And, you know, some children are quite picky. So even, you know, integrating new things, they can explore it that way, where they might not like how it disintegrates the popcorn in their mouth or how it smells, but they're trying it. And that's the exploration part of it, right?
That's true. And then you notice that you ate something.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we shovel it in. We don't pay attention to what we're eating.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Well, there's just one last category of things, and I won't go into it because we're running out of time, but get mindfulness of tasks, whatever the child does on a daily basis, to help them become mindful while they're doing it. One of the easy ones is brushing their teeth. To notice how the toothbrush feels in their hand, how the tube of toothpaste feels, what it looks like when you put the toothpaste on the brush, what it smells like, what it feels like when you put the brush on your teeth, what it tastes like to rinse. In 2 minutes, you've done a little mindfulness exercise. And, you know, then you could do it for anything that they do.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Now, I know that you have a free resource to share with everybody. Could you tell us a little bit about it and where we can find it?
My free gift is 2 audio meditations. They're short for kids. They are designed to help children increase their self-regulation by practicing a lot of the stuff that we just did, practicing concentrating and staying on task. The first one is called In the Tree. Teaches kids to use their imagination, to pretend they're in a tree, and to be aware of everything in their surroundings. The second one is In the Classroom. Teaches kids to filter out distractions and stay on task in the classroom. And if you have stayed this long, you probably be interested in the skills. I just want to let you know that this mindfulness skills for kids and teens is got 154 of these skills. We just did a handful of them on there, but they're downloadable worksheets. It's being used all over the world. And also I have an audio meditation mindfulness toolkit for kids, which is a downloadable MP3. There's a whole bunch of meditations on it that I think you probably would love if you made it this far.
Absolutely. And we'll post all the links to your website and the gift and everything here on the speaker page that everybody can find. You do have such great resources, and like I mentioned, very excited to have you here speaking with us today. And I look forward to connecting with you more in the future, and just wanted to share so much gratitude. And it's very inspiring to see that the work that you've put in to your entire existence. And if there's any way we can support you moving forward, please let us know as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So check out www.thebrainlady.com. Lots of resources there for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Debra.
Thank you.